Chapter 10. Dante woke up on the very uncomfortable sofa to the amazing smells of eggs, bacon, and pancakes. The feeling of déjà vu came over him. He was soon consumed with memories of the past. Dante, along with his parents, Shelby and David, used to come over before church every Sunday morning for breakfast along with Brian and Kira's parents, Lisa and Bobby. There would always be gospel music filling the house along with love and joy. Dante smiled, enjoying his thoughts. It amazed him how his father and uncle never let the fact that they were heavily involved in the drug business interfere with their families, until it took their lives. After a quick visit to the bathroom, Dante made his way to the kitchen and just smiled at his tiny, frail grandma wearing a floral dress. She was in her element with gospel music playing as she tottered around the kitchen. Dante leaned against the wall, watching her work until the ever-arguing brother and sister, Brian and Kira, broke the moment. Brian had a goatee, shaved head, a muscular physique which was very clearly shown with his tank top and gym shorts. Brian was telling Kira he wanted her to leave her job. Kira, who held her son, little Eric, wore a tube top and cut-off shorts. She told her brother she would not leave her job, no matter what he said. The two continued to bicker back and forth until Kira saw Dante leaning against the wall. She handed her son to Brian and jumped into Dante's arms. Dante swung her around like he used to when she was a little girl while Brian leered at him. "I guess I don't have to ask what's up with the big breakfast since college boy's back," Brian said coldly. "What's your problem?" Brian glared at his cousin. "You really don't know," Dante shrugged. "You didn't lift a finger to help us once in the last 4 years. You know, while I was in jail." My mom, Edna, turned to Brian. "I told Dante I wanted him to get his degree. Then he could come back here and make the city that took my girls away from me better." She looked at her grandchildren, and they all knew the dispute had died, at least for the time being. Their grandmother turned back and continued to prepare breakfast. Dante told everyone about the kid at the bus station. "Using a child to bring their poison into this city," my mom, Edna, said. Both Dante and Kira looked over at Brian. "The king wouldn't use a kid to move product into the city," Brian said defensively. "Are you sure about that?" Dante raised an eyebrow at him. Brian opened his mouth to answer, but stopped. He wasn't sure who the kid was delivering drugs for. Chapter 11. The smell of cheap cleaning chemicals barely masked the palpable scent of hopelessness, despair, and death at Safe Haven Hospital. Detective Tracy Richards scanned the professional but indifferent faces of all the hospital personnel. Tracy was never a fan of hospitals. She watched her beloved father wither away in a Philadelphia one. Her father, a hard-nosed police officer who was a gentleman at heart, died of colon cancer. She'd held her little brother's hand as their mother cried over their dying father in a hospital like Safe Haven. The detective entered the room she was looking for. The middle-aged man with glasses was lying uncomfortably on a bed, with a bloated face and one of his eyes swollen shut, and his arm was in a sling. It was Fred Royal, the man who had been attacked yesterday. Playing on the TV mounted to the wall was a news conference for the city's fearless and clueless Mayor Dick Townsend, known as the Dick by the general public.
"Since many citizens of the city are completely terrified of the ever-increasing crime, do you think it's time to ask for federal help?"
asked the reporter. Mayor Dick, whose face usually had a nonchalant expression, had a momentarily thoughtful look, and then gave one of his usual hyperbole-filled responses. I truly believe that the talented team that I have assembled is more than capable of dealing with this crime wave." The same reporter asked about his thoughts on the person whom people say is really running this city, King Poe. The mayor gave the reporter a look like a parent whose teenager is sneaking in a half hour after curfew. "I believe this so-called king is simply an urban legend and someone thought of as a cruel joke because nobody has laid eyes on this supposedly almighty individual." Fred shook his head in disgust, then muted the TV. "I already told the police everything I know about the attack," he told her, eyeing her badge as she stepped closer. "Which wasn't much," she said flatly. I have nothing else to say.
Why did they attack you, Mr. Royal?
I guess they like attacking innocent people.
So that is what you are, Mr. Royal? An innocent person?
Tracy raised an eyebrow at him.
Mr. Royal, I believe you work for a drug dealer from the West Coast. The patient was about to respond when she cut him off. By the name of Alonzo Green, who is currently trying to get a foothold in King Poe's backyard. I believe your beatdown was a harsh warning from Poe to your employer.
What do you want, Detective?
To help you, Mr. Royal.
Why? Fred smirked.
I'm a cop, and it's my job.
She sighed, frustrated.
I know you are standing in the middle of a war between two very dangerous and very powerful men. A war that could destroy this city.
Fred painfully readjusted himself and looked at her. Have a good day, Detective. The pair stared at each other momentarily. Tracy pulled out one of her business cards and laid it on the bed. She spun to leave, and Fred laughed.
Can you let me in on the joke?
She asked, glancing at him. This entire shithole of a city only has one honest cop.
That's where you're wrong, Mr. Royal. It has quite a few, but they are just scared.
Why aren't you a detective? She thought for a moment.
I am tired of looking the other way while people like King Poe and Alonzo Green do whatever they want.
The detective turned and walked out.